My name is Juliana Nykolaiszyn. Also with me is Tanya Finchum. We're with the Oklahoma Oral History Research Program at the OSU Library. And today we're interviewing Evelyn Coyle in Tonkawa, Oklahoma. We're here to learn more about her husband's family's Centennial Farm in Kay County, the Aden O Coyle Farm. Evelyn, thank you so much for joining us today. Let's begin by learning a little bit more how the family came to Oklahoma.
Wasn't really the family, it was my husband's father who came in 1893 from Minnesota, where the family did live. And I do not know how he came to Oklahoma, whether he rode a horse, but when he got here, he was in the Cherokee Strip 1893 run to stake a claim, homestead.
Okay. And is there any idea of how he chose that particular piece of land?
I have no idea about that.
Okay. And when Aden Orlando came to Oklahoma and settled on the land, is there any idea of some of the things he started to do? Structures he started to build?
Yes, he built fences. He built a barn. He built a small house, which I think they were called just claims shacks because the land was claimed and they were shacks. And as far as I know, that's all that he built to begin with.
Okay. And was he married when he came to Oklahoma?
No.
Okay. And do you know how he met his wife?
No, I really do not know how they met.
Okay. And together with his wife, how many children did they have?
2 sons.
2 sons, okay. And one of which was your husband,
Right.
Aden O. And what was the other son's name?
Mark Albert.
Okay. And so tell me a little bit about your husband.
Well, I met him when I was in college. He had just returned from being discharged from the Air Force in World War II. And he and his brother came back to farm this quarter of land. Actually, there were 2 quarters because the land across the road from the land that was staked to claim, Mr. Coyle had bought that land, that quarter land. And at that time there was a house on it, and that's where the 2 brothers lived.
Okay. And can you describe that house for me?
It was just a little 2-bedroom bungalow style house that originally was not modern, but when the boys came back they made a bathroom and fixed the kitchen up a little.
And so together they farmed the land?
Yes.
Okay.
Both quarters.
Okay. And what were some of the activities going on? What were they growing? Or their livestock? Any idea?
No, they did not have livestock. They just merely grew wheat.
Okay.
You said you met at college. Was your husband enrolled at Oklahoma A&M at that time?
No, he was not in college. I was in college here at Tonkawa.
Okay.
Well, actually, I guess when I met him, I was in college here, but I did go on to finish college at Stillwater.
What was their mother's name?
Esther. Her maiden name was West.
And I'm assuming that he graduated from Tonkawa High.
No. The boys grew up in Oklahoma City. Graduated from Nykolaiszyn High School and went to OU and majored in, I think he majored in petroleum engineering.
So what was the connection to the land? What drew him to want to farm the land after the war?
Well, I just think, I don't know. really, I suppose that they just didn't have jobs, I guess, and thought that that would be the thing to do.
Mm-hmm. And did they also have work outside of the farm?
No, not to begin with.
Okay.
Later on, I think that, I know my husband had another job,
Mm-hmm.
and in time, in 1965, the farm was hit with a tornado. Tore up the granaries, did a little damage to the house, and they had just decided that the price of wheat was down, that maybe, and by that time, of course, Aden and I were married, had 2 children, and just decided that maybe farming was kind of not the thing they wanted to continue to do.
Mm-hmm. Well, when you married Aden, did you live on the farm?
To begin with, we didn't, but then soon we did.
Mm-hmm.
And we lived there for probably 2 or 3 years.
Okay. And you lived in the house across?
Yes,
Okay.
we lived in that house.
Okay.
Was it modern by that time?
Oh, yes. Oh, yes.
And by modern, we mean indoor plumbing
Right.
and electricity?
Yes.
Would you have things you did on the farm to help out?
Well, we had several hired hands, and I did all the cooking for them, fed them. No, I did not work in the field. We had 2 small children then,
Mm-hmm.
and so I thought if I don't learn to drive the tractor, then I won't have to.
That's pretty good thinking. Well, you mentioned you cooked for the farm hands and everybody working. How early would you get started?
Early in the morning, 5 o'clock,
Mm-hmm.
probably.
And what types of things would you prepare?
For lunch?
Mhm.
For lunch. Well, we usually had a roast or meatloaf, fried chicken. I really tried to cook good meals for the boy. A lot of the help in the summer were teenage boys. He usually had 1 or 2 adult men that were helping. Back then, the equipment was not nearly as modern as it is today. The combine, it took almost 2 weeks to combine the 1/4 of land because they only had like a 9-foot header on the combine. Now they're 22 feet, so it made a lot of difference. And fortunately, they were mechanically enough to repair the equipment when they had a breakdown. So I always was the one that ran to wherever they could get parts. When something broke down, I got to go get the parts and hoped I'd get the right ones.
How far would you have to travel to get parts?
Well, Blackwell, which is not about 12 miles,
Mm-hmm.
Ponca City, sometimes Perry, I think even Enid.
Mm-hmm. Where would they take the wheat to market?
Here in Tonkawa.
Okay.
We had granaries. Sometimes they would store the wheat
Mm-hmm.
before, if the price was depressed, which it usually is right at harvest time.
Well, over time, did the brothers start to make improvements to the land, add new structures?
They did build a very large workshop and a garage, big garage to put trucks in. They did a lot of bulldozing work on the land to build waterways, whatever needed to be done to protect the land.
Did that include terracing?
Terracing, yes. Some terracing. The land is fairly flat and didn't need a lot of terracing. However, in time, were able to lease some land, and on that land, they did do some of the terracing work.
Okay.
So in '65, your husband decided, or the two of you decided to get out of the farming business?
Yes.
Did the brother stay in it?
No,
He didn't.
no, they both made a decision together had a farm sale, or planned to sell all of the equipment, and unfortunately, the tornado that came through about just 3 or 4 days before the sale was to be the auction. But equipment was not damaged. The granaries were spread all over the county, but part of the roof of the house was spread out.
So how did your husband come to have his section? Did he buy it from his father, or was it passed down? Or?
It was, the father had died when the boys were quite young. I think maybe 4 and 6, or 2 and 4, I'm not sure. The mother had divided gave one boy 1/4 and the other one a 1/4, and had, already had the name transfer on it. So.
When you were living there, did you belong to a homemaker club?
No, I didn't.
Didn't have time.
No, right.
With 2 young ones.
Yeah.
Did your young ones help out on the farm, or get into mischief, or?
No, they were too little. They were preschool. They were good kids. No, they didn't get into a lot of trouble.
Well, once you decided to get out of the business, you still kept the land?
Oh, yes.
And then did he lease it to other farmers, or just let it stay idle, or what?
Yes, it was leased out. His brother Mark is now deceased. Well, of course, they're both deceased, but when my husband died, of course, the land was deeded to me, and Mark still had his land. He died 5 years ago, I believe, and he did not have a family. He had, I believe, had a will that transferred almost all of his land and holdings to the Dean McGee Eye Center in Oklahoma City. And in turn, they were not farmers, so in turn there was an auction that all the land was sold. So.
Did they, through the years, continue even after they sold, they started leasing out the land, feel a deep connection to that land? They kept it in the family for...
It's always
Yeah.
been in the family.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I know my husband really felt a deep connection to the land. Many years back, the government had planned that you could only plant so many acres in wheat, and then when it got ready for harvest, there would be someone that would come out from the agricultural office to measure the land, make sure you weren't overplanted. And one year he was overplanted a few acres, and and the wheat was just beautiful, and he had to go out and destroy that wheat. And I remember him getting started. He made one round. He came back up to the house, and he said, "This is one of the hardest things I've ever had to do, is to destroy perfectly good crop." So I think he felt very, very tied to the land.
Mm-hmm. Would you ever have family events on the old farm property, reunions or holidays, or?
Living there,
Mm-hmm.
and the children were little, we always, we had all the holidays there.
Did you raise chickens?
No.
That's a farm question. We
We
have to ask.
neither one of the fellows were interested in any kind of livestock. Just did not.
Big garden?
No, we did not garden. They just really were always busy with equipment or something on the land, whatever, and they just did not do that.
Were there any, especially in the early days, drilling of oil or gas on the land?
Yes, I do remember at one time there was an oil company that came in and leased, it was Aden's quarter, but it was a dry hole.
Mm-hmm.
But you know, we're south of Tonkawa and pretty close, bordering the area that used to be the Three Sands oil field. And now there are several petroleum companies that have been drilling out there now for several years. And they've gone in and, of course, with new equipment, new technology, they are finding oil that, where they used to just say there's no production here, now there is.
Mm-hmm.
So you all have retained the mineral rights?
Yes.
Mineral rights.
Have you noticed through the years changes with your neighbors and the surrounding properties?
Oh, yes. Oh, yeah. You know, at one time there probably was several houses on every quarter of land, or every section, and now most of those structures are gone. There are some out there that are still existing, or newer homes, but very, very few of the homes that used to be there are no longer there.
So you stated that the two boys grew up in Oklahoma City. How did they come to be there? How did when his father passed away, his mother moved them, or what?
Well, I believe that they had lived in several places, and I do not know why. I know they lived in Wichita, Kansas for a brief period of time. They lived in Ponca City, but they did go to high school in Oklahoma City, and Aden went to OU for college.
So I'm
But I
assuming,
do not know why Mrs. Coyle moved the children around a lot.
but she kept the land during that time. Do you know if it was leased during the time that they
Oh,
weren't
yes,
living
it was
here?
leased.
So some income producing for her.
Yes.
So once your husband and you decided not to farm, what did he do?
He and a friend of his went into an equipment business and did quite well with it.
Some of the things he learned on the farm, then he transferred over to
Oh, yeah.
other things.
I suppose so. He was very mechanical, so working with equipment was kind of natural with him.
And he served in what branch of the military was he in?
The Air Force. At the time he was in World War II, it was the Army Air Force. And now, today, and I don't know when, the Air Force became a separate division of the military.
And his mother did not remarry?
Not that I'm aware of.
Roughly when they passed away? She
passed away in 1962, and my husband passed away in 1999, and I'm a little, not quite positive. Mark passed away about maybe 2005 or 6, I believe.
And then the father would have been EOHRP.
Oh, the boys were, let's see, my husband was born in 1919, and I think he was maybe 4 years old or I'm a little vague on that because I'm not quite positive.
Early 20s.
Yes. I believe he died in 1922 or 23.
So when your husband died, the property passed to you.
Right.
And so tell me what's been happening on the farm since then.
Well, I have it leased to one of the area farmers. It's, I believe in 2006, it was either 2006 or 7, when many oil companies were coming and leasing land, and I did lease the land. And there is production on the land now.
And so as we look into the future, what do you hope happens to the land?
Well, I just hope that that it will be taken care of properly. The land will go to my older son, who was always very interested in the land. He, when he was in high school, in the summer times, he always worked on the farm or with a farmer, and he always enjoyed the, driving the tractor, the helping with combining. However, he's a petroleum engineer now in Houston, and he probably won't be active in it, but I think he's aware of good farming practices, and will make sure that it's taken care of.
Tell me a little bit about your children.
We have a daughter. I have a daughter now and 2 sons. The daughter and her husband live in Dallas, and my son, who's next in line, is in Houston, and then my younger son is in Dallas also.
Okay.
All Texas.
Yes.
Did you get to name the oil wells on the property?
Yes, I named it the Aden Wells.
Okay. Good to know. Do you envision any of the 3 children coming back and actually living on the place?
No, they're all definitely converted to metropolitan life now.
Have they at least walked the property or been on the property?
Oh, you mean recently?
In
Not
recent
recently,
years?
no, but they know where it is. They're very well aware of the land.
Is it still 160 acres?
Yes.
How often do you drive by and just peek on it?
About twice a week,
Really?
I do.
And when you're making your visits, is there anything you're looking for in particular, or you're just going out to say hi?
Well, if the crop is growing, I like to go and see how much has happened. And if I'm waiting for the land to be planted back into wheat. So it's just kind of interesting and I really appreciate the person I have it leased to. He does work very closely with the Stillwater Agricultural Department, and I just like what he's doing by rotating crops, and the recent crop that was harvested was milo. And I asked him about if maybe he was going to harvest the stalk, because I know it can be ground and used for cattle feed. And he said no, he thought it would be better. Like apparently Stillwater has released a product that can be sprayed on the stalks that is safe and not toxic, and will cause it to just I don't know whether it'll disintegrate, but whatever, but it will fall into the ground and help fertilize and be humus for the soil, be good for the soil. And that'll work. then when it does that, he'll work that into the ground, and so I think I appreciate what he does for me.
Well, it's great that you still have this interest in the land, and you go out and you say hi.
Well, and I also go out to make sure the wells are pumping.
Well, that too. That's important. That is definitely
Yes,
important.
that's important.
hmm A lot of farmers we've spoken to lately that have had increased oil production, oil and gas on their land, they've noticed impacts within their community in terms of crime. Have you noticed anything out of the ordinary?
Because of the oil,
Mm-hmm.
I don't believe that, I don't know, I can't speak with authority on that, but I don't think that there's that much crime involvement with what's been going on around Tonkawa.
Okay.
Number one, very little of it is close to town,
Mm-hmm.
and I just don't know. Police department could probably answer that better.
Was there ever a time where your husband thought he may lose the farm?
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay.
Certainly not as long as we were married.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't mortgage it to get more equipment or that sort of thing?
No.
And how do you keep up with, or do you keep up with the farm programs?
Yes, I get emails and letters about it, and I usually read it. But like I say, the man that is leasing it, he is a big corporate farming. He has a lady working for him that used to work in the county agricultural office, and she's very knowledgeable, and usually when I get something that I don't really quite understand, I take it to them and they take care of it.
Good.
How involved are you in deciding what's planted and what's not?
Usually I will be asked, but right now he's on a rotation crops, and I know that it's going to be wheat or corn or soybeans, or if we double plant then it might be like milo.
Do each one of those have a unique smell? We've heard people talk about the smell of wheat when it's harvested. Do you have any memories of that
The
sort of
smell?
thing? Mm-hmm.
No, not anything that stays with me.
In 1993, when they applied for designation for the Centennial Farm status, was that your husband's idea to do that?
Actually, I think I read about it in the Daily Oklahoman,
Oh.
and I think there was a number to call, and I believe I remember calling and giving them information that the farm was still in the family.
Did you attend the ceremony they had?
Yes, it was a banquet in Enid.
And who all from your family was present?
Just my husband and I.
Did they give you the big metal sign? And where is it today?
It's in the garage. Aden did not want to put it on a stand in the field. He was afraid that it would either be taken or maybe used for target practice.
A lot of them have been.
Yes. So I have it intact.
How long has your family lived in Tonkawa?
Are you asking how long have
Yes.
I lived here?
How long have you lived in Tonkawa?
My father was a Santa Fe depot agent, and we moved here in 1945. And so I have lived here since then.
So you grew up in Tonkawa.
Pretty much,
Okay.
yeah.
And they came here from where?
We came from southwestern Oklahoma, a little town called Sentinel.
They're Oklahoma.
I'm sorry?
You're Oklahoman.
Yes. In fact, I was the only one in my family that was born in Oklahoma. The rest of them are from Kansas. But I'm just a third generation American. My dad's family came from Sweden. His mother was, well, it had been his grandparents that came. His mother was, they were just barely had arrived to the United States when she was born. So,
Nice. And what did your father do on the Santa Fe?
he was a depot agent.
Okay. And was there a depot in Tonkawa?
Yes,
Okay.
and it still exists. The local historical society has, about 5 or 6 years ago, it was deeded to the historical society, and we have renovated it and repaired it and taken care of it, and we rent it out for people that want to have events there.
Well, as we wind on down, is there anything else you'd like to share about your farm or family that we may have missed?
Well, I think you've covered it quite well
All
with your questions. I don't think of anything. Probably won't until after you leave.
We hear that. We
Yeah.
hear that. Well, Evelyn, thank you so much for joining us today. We appreciate it.
Well, thank you for being caring.